Hey everyone, hope you're all doing good. As you can see, I'm actually still here. I'm in Lake Tahoe still. I've got 1 week left. Been here for 3 weeks, got a week left. I'm gonna be sad to leave, but I'm also excited to get back home, get back on the road. I've got 2 shows after this. I go to Brazil and Chile. When I leave here, I fly to Brazil. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to getting home, to be able to work again, get back on in my studio, making music, doing some more videos for my channel. But yeah, I'm doing this video to give you my review on the Callisto Protocol. I finished it about 3 days ago. It took me like 10 hours to complete. I completed it in 2 days. It felt really short, but when I realized when I completed it and I looked at the time, it took me 10 hours. So it's an all right size game. It could have been a bit longer. Well, this is the thing. I would prefer stories to be a bit longer than 10 hours, but for the Callisto Protocol, it's enough. This game, I enjoyed it. I thought it was all right. I enjoyed playing the game. It's definitely got its flaws. It's not a perfect game, but it isn't a really bad game. It's not a terrible game, but it definitely did not live up to the expectations I had of this game at all. I expected it to be way scarier, just a lot better. I just didn't think it was as good as what Dead Space was. And because these are like the old developers that made Dead Space, that I was expecting it to be like mind-blowingly good. Based on like how many games have come out since Dead Space, so many amazing horror games, so many amazing other games, I just kind of expected this to be really, really good. Now, first of all, I'll go through the things that I liked and I'll go for things that I didn't like, and I'll give you my overall review on it, my rating. But what I did really like is the obvious one, which is the graphics. I'll start with the graphics. The graphics are amazing. Like some of the best photorealistic graphics, whilst in gameplay as well, that I've seen in majority of games, if not all games. It's really, really impressive graphics. And the graphics really did help me to enjoy this game a lot more, because just the environments and the different things that happen and just the world setting, having graphics that are that good. I'm just going to sit down in this little tree stump here. Having graphics that are like that good was really, really nice to just be in that world and play. And that definitely kept me wanting to go further in. The environments were really, really cool. There were some really, really sick environments. I really did enjoy the environments and the different corridors that are like... This game's very linear, so you're always going down corridors. You're always going down like narrow pathways, and I did really like the environments, especially sometimes when you're falling into actual literal shit, like sewage, and there's some really interesting moments. But yeah, I mean, there was a really, really cool moment where you kind of fall out of a spaceship or fall out of something. I can't remember exactly what it is. And you're literally flying through space, falling down. And it's a really, really cool moment. There was only a couple of moments like that. I wish there was maybe a bit more. Yeah, it kind of felt a little bit boring at times. But yeah, going back to things that I liked before I get into the negatives. I really, really loved the sound effects. The sound effects in this game were sick. Like with headphones on, the 3D audio was so good. The sound effects are some of my favorite thing in this game. I just thought that the sound design was great, especially when some of these like monsters, I don't even know what they are. They don't really give you an explanation fully as to what the things are you're fighting. They're like humans that are morphed into a weird monster zombie-like things, but they're not zombies. They just want to smash your face in. But sometimes when you're like coming up against them, they will run off into like these little air vents, and then you don't know where they are, but because the 3D audio and the sound effects are so good, you can hear them running about in all these metal pipes or tubes or whatever it is, air vents, and they're running around you, like circling around you, and it makes it really intense because you're like, oh my god, where are they going to come out from? And I really did like that. So the sound effects were great. The sound design was really, really good. The story was just all right. It was just, I felt like it was just a stereotypical sort of horror storyline to do with zombies and shit. There's an outbreak, there's a virus, and the story's basically... I nearly fell over then. The story's basically trying to just figure out, like, where's this virus come from, what's the source of it, how has it happened, I feel like I've seen that story done loads, so it wasn't that good. It was just all right. I did want more from this game in story, definitely, but it was all right. The actors, sorry, and the acting was great. I really like both of the main actors. The guy who plays Jacob, who's the lead character, I can't remember his real name, but he's great in this. I mean, he does a good job with what he's got. Also, Danny is the Asian girl who's the woman from The Boys, which is cool to see. She was cool. She's got an interesting story. When you get towards the end, you start to understand more of her motivations and why she's being the way she is. I did actually like that. Some of the jump scares are good. At the very start of the game, some of the jump scares do get you because you're new to it. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what to expect. And there was a lot of times when I did like jump out my seat nearly. Oh shit! But that's very short-lived. And this is where it starts to get really, really annoying. Is that this game sort of gives you shitloads of jump scares right from the beginning, and it consistently does the same jump scares all the way through the game. Like, even 10 hours into the game, you're getting the exact same jump scare from exactly the same creature, from exactly the same box or locker. It's just a copy and paste all the way through the game. And it started to annoy me because I was like, it felt like, obviously, the developers are not lazy with this. I'm sure they've put all their effort into this, but like, it confused me. Why wouldn't you make some sort of adjustments and changes to the creatures and to make it more exciting and interesting for the player to come across all these new different enemies and different jump scares, instead of always putting the same creature inside every single same thing? It became so repetitive that it just, by the end, I was like, this is actually a bit shit. It really did like lower the game's rating for me, because I was like, this is not actually that good, really. You did a good job at the beginning. You got me invested. I'm interested. You got me scared. But like, now it's just you're doing the same thing over and over again. And I just thought that it was lazy. It felt lazy to me. The main thing that I'll go into, which is the one that everyone's been talking about, and this is the worst thing about the game. Like, the worst thing about the game is the combat. For me, the worst thing about the game is the combat, because first of all, the combat at the very start is so difficult. I was playing it on normal and I was getting killed non-stop. So I went on to easy to see what that was like. And it was easier, but you're still getting killed a lot, because I couldn't understand how you're supposed to do how you're supposed to fight, use the combat mechanics. It basically tells you on text. It doesn't give you any sort of training. It literally just gives you a text on screen, do this, do that. You read it, and then you get thrown in the world, and you're like, right, how do I do that again? And I'm pressing the buttons it tells you to do. In this game, you have to dodge left or dodge right by holding the left stick, left or right. But I didn't really understand until pretty much towards the end of the game how you actually properly do it. I was thinking, if an enemy comes up to you and tries to swing for you with its right hand, then do you have to dodge the left side or the right side? I was overcomplicating it in my head. I was overthinking it because I didn't really understand it. It felt really, really hard. There was a moment where I liked it. I felt like I was getting it. I felt like I was managing to, because the game doesn't give you any indication that the enemy's about to punch. There's no like slow down time. There's no like delay point where you can sort of just quickly get out of the way. It really relies on you to be able to move at the right time. But this felt really, really difficult until I got to the end and realized it's actually so easy, and it's that easy that it even makes it worse. You would literally, all you need to do is actually just hold left or hold right even before they swing for you, and you will automatically swing out the way. And once I realized that, and I'm fighting the boss fights, there's like 3 or 4 boss fights which I'll go into, but the 3 boss fights or 4 boss fights, I was not getting hit by any of them at all, because I just figured out, just hold left or hold right, they'll never get you. And they literally don't ever get you. I never got hit. And it made it so shit, because I was like, oh right, I thought it was just this really interesting, complicated, new type of mechanic that you're going to get really skilled at because you can time it properly and you'll be able to figure out how to do it. But no, it's not actually that. You just hold left or hold right, you'll automatically dodge out the way. That's what I found. And then when I realized that, I thought, that's actually shit. Because I have to go back to this and sort of compare it. Obviously there's no comparison, but just in combat, God of War, it feels like you really are like some big brute who's solid, because you fight in combat and the mechanics are so well made. Like when you parry an enemy at the perfect timing, you'll knock them back and you can follow up with another attack, or you can still block at the right time, but you might get stunned. But it feels like you're in control of the player. And this game, Callisto, makes you feel, it didn't make me feel anything like that. I genuinely felt like it was sloppy, clunky. I just did not like the combat at all. I felt like the game, you find loads of different weapons and loads of different guns and you can upgrade them, and I liked that. And I really liked the mechanic in the game where you can put your gun on your thing and it'll automatically like a 3D printer will print on a new attachment to your gun or whatever. And I did really like that, but it felt like by the time I got all of my guns and upgraded them to a point where I could actually fully start to enjoy my game properly, like going into a room with loads of enemies and being able to take them all out with my gun and do your gravity pull and throw them against all these spikes on the wall, it started to get really fun then, but then the game was over. So it didn't feel like I got to enjoy the game at its best for that long of a time. It just felt like, oh sick, I've upgraded everything here nearly, and then the game was over and I was like, is that it? This game does something that really becomes annoying. It's not actually becomes annoying, it's annoying right from the get-go. There is so many, I don't know if they're fake loading screens or what. I believe so, because a lot of games do that now, where if you crawl through an air vent, or you crawl through like a little underground passageway, or in between trees, or a wall that's broken, supposedly they're actually loading screens. And there's so much of that. Like, if I feel like every 2 minutes you're crawling through another air vent, or you're crawling through some other environment. And I didn't understand why they were doing it. They were doing it so much, it became so annoying and so boring. I was like, this is stupid. Like, why? It felt like 70% of the game was the game and gameplay, and 30% of it was actually crawling through different vents and different passageways. And I was like, why is it doing this all the time? I just wish that it could have been so much better. This game could have been so much better. And yeah, I'm a little bit gutted that it just wasn't what I expected. But even though, with all that being said, I still enjoyed it enough. But even though, with all that being said, I still enjoyed it enough to be happy that I played it, be happy that I bought it. I wouldn't play it again. But for me, if I was to give this game a rating, I would probably give it, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. There was moments where I was thinking this is a 6. But then there were some moments where I was like, no, this is actually all right. It's all right. So I'm going to give it a 7. Oh, one last thing that I just forgot to mention. One of the most lazy things I thought in this game was that you come across these boss fights, and the two-headed monster guy that's in all the promo stuff for this game, it's like a big monster with 2 heads, like human heads, but it's all ripped apart and stuff. It's a really cool design monster. This monster is like in the game, and you fight this monster like 3 times, I think. You kill one of them, and then the next boss is, every single boss is the same boss. They don't change it, they don't make the creature different. It's exactly the same creature every single time, and I just found that lazy. I just thought, why would you not make the enemy bosses different? And then the final boss was like the best version of the boss fights. It was a good boss fight, but the actual main boss itself never seemed to be able to hit me, because again, I was just holding that left or right button. It never got me. But all the other little creatures that are like crawling around at that time with that boss, they're the ones that were getting me and killing me. So it was difficult based on them little other creatures, not the main boss. And the ending of this game just felt like, oh, it just didn't make sense. The very ending, after you defeated the boss, you then see him back alive, and he's returned to a previous form, which makes no sense because his whole body must have been completely broken and distorted to even turn into this monster. But somehow he's back to his previous form, and it's just, I don't know, they try and leave it with a cliffhanger for the next game, and it just didn't work for me. I just thought it was a bit of a rubbish ending. Yeah, the story wasn't that great, but it was still a fun game. Could have been way better. If the combat was better, it would have been a way better game. But hopefully, maybe if they do another game, it'll be a lot better that time. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the review. I am back in a week, so I will be doing more videos when I'm home. Here's a snowman that someone's made. My fingers are absolutely fucking freezing, so I'm gonna go. But I hope you're all doing good. Let me know down below, did you enjoy the game? Did you enjoy Callisto Protocol? What did you like? What didn't you like? Please let me know down below in the comments. Drop me a like if you enjoyed this review, and if you are new here, then please hit the subscribe button. That would be amazing for me. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you all on the next one.